welcome to the second part of our talk. We will talk today about the stage one and how we are feeling about this, how we execute them, and a little bit about ideograms, but we don't want to go too deep inside the entire stuff because it's not a training, it's only an exchange between David and me, how we will handle stage one. I prepared some slides for that. Well, let us jump over to it. So I can remember when I made the training in the US, and I talked with Bill Way about the stage one and the process. And I hated that training only to make stage one trainings. I hated it. I sit there and how it felt, and it goes from one to the other. And I sat him down on the couch in the training center and talked with Bill, and I will never forget the sentence, and I kept it. He said, stage one is but once you mastered it, the rest will come naturally. And that's really true, you know.
Yeah.
20 years,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, it is really like that. So I made lifetime only stage one trainings, maybe 25 or 30, only stage one targets. But I've got to remember that I started 3 years before 2019 already, and I learned another method, and there was no separated stage one training. So it was sort of like a backflip for myself to go back into train only stage one. We prepared here to own sessions, and
I think that, again, we talked about this in the last session, where if you're not familiar with what it feels like, whenever somebody sits down to do a sketch or to draw or to doodle or to whatever, they have a picture in their mind, and then they draw that picture that they produced in their mind. And so really that's like the familiarity that a person has to draw from when they sit down to do this. And after sessions, after finally getting familiar with the feeling aspect of it, that's for me where it's like it all clicked, like, oh, so now like I so don't even care what the ideogram is like objectified, because the stage twos are already barreling down the road, behind it. One of the sessions I did recently.
That's your session. That's interesting for me here. You took the tasking number, you made an ideogram, and here came something up what gave you the signal to make a break and take the coordinates or the tasking number again. What happened here?
Yeah, so Paul, when we get a multiple, Paul or our instructor would teach us to break these up. And quite often when I hit an ideogram, I'll get like a multiple, and I know there's right off the bat, I just know there's more there packed in that ideogram. So I'll AOL whatever it just comes out as, and then I'll try and break up whatever it ends up being. Which that I picked up a structure and a life form.
Yeah, I think it's super important that when I evoke this signal about that the ideogram about the coordinates, I'm trying to hold my mind so clean as possible to take these numbers. As an example, sometimes you have if you've got a monitor and the monitor is saying 1 2 or 4 2 4 0 0 0 to 0 1. I can't work with this. I need a rhythm inside. As an example,
oh yes,
4 2
yes.
4 0 0 0 2 0 1. This keeps my
cadence. Cadence. Yes.
This keeps my mind clean, and I'm trying don't to think about something. It's like a meditation state to this point. And then the ideogram's coming out, it's saying like a seismographic from the signal line, like this is, I feel it's like this, like a signal is bypassing my left brain.
And that's interesting you said that, because I wanted to know, Theo, if that was a me thing. So you like that cadence. 424
Yeah,
000 201.
it's
Boom. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah.
I think it's a kind of ritual again,
Uh,
of habit. It's there's no rhythm inside. I can work with it. Everything else just is just distracting me to this point. But it works not every time out like that. Sometimes when I'm making the ideogram or I'm starting to go in the A component, or I pictures coming up and analytical overlays coming up, like a person, or I see a structure, or whatever is distracting the clean process to work with a stage one, came to an AOL BK, I take every time the coordinates again. If I'm doing that not most of the time, the possibility is super high that you will coming into an AOL drive and you are sticking to that AOL what you have in stage one. That's the interesting part. I saw this here in your session, and you took the ideogram here again, and you had here then a multiple ideogram. Yeah, interestingly.
yeah. I think that it's um again too, like the ideogram process, at least in my mind, to me, is like literally um it's the first initial um puncture into the target. It's the initial contact. It's the
Yeah.
contact of your subconscious hitting that target. So it's you have to be so, it's very subtle. I mean, you're just getting the very raw data, just your foot in the door. But again, once you do so many of these sessions, like you have, um, you're right into stage two, because you're not so concerned about um, the the label of it or whatever. You're just checking for density and basically moving on. Um,
Especially when we are looking, we've got another example what could interrupt the flow of stage one. That's for me if I have the feeling I don't jump on the train. It's a feeling like the train is coming, I'm trying to get it, and I'm feeling, in the process you see here, take the task number, and I've got a strange ideogram, like, and there's no feeling inside. There's no kinesthetic thing inside. That's classical misbk. We say, okay, I don't get it. The initial contact is not was not successful.
yeah.
So I make a misbreak and take the coordinates
I
again
love how you describe that. I
to
love that, because that's
get it.
exactly how it feels. It feels how for me too, bro. Like oh, I just missed the train. I'm gonna have to catch it at the next stop.
It
It's just like that. I'm gonna have to hit it one
is.
more time. It just snuck right by me. I'm gonna have to hit it one more time. But
Uh,
yeah, it's a good way of describing that.
I mean, it is. I think it's important that you work really so clean as possible with the stage one and with this process, to have no AOL drive. And my experience shows me that is really one of the key aspects. Stage one is the foundation. And here in that example, I had a multiple ideogram, and this was the first one. This was the second one, and I described it, and it's wavy. Had the motion was wavy for me. The feeling was soft, and my B was water to it. It is near side here. I can show you that later. But interestingly, I made this one and I go here back and I thought, oh, that is strange. Afterwards, I had here as feeling then hard and B structure. And if you see what the target is, it is a parking house for cars. You have here these structures, and this shows us again that most of the time we're really describing some characteristics of the target, a special entry perspective to the target, or a characteristic shape or contour, stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
I
You
found
know
this
what? It's
super
interesting
interesting.
too. I think in the beginning, I was so, like, for me personally, I was so concerned with objectifying. I was so worried about objectifying the Gestalt correctly, that
Yeah,
it
it's
was a
brings pressure.
hindrance because
Yeah.
because again, you're so worried about being right. And what I found is um, by the time, as long as you just for the most part, as long as you just let go and just do, by the time you hit stage 3, if you really just in the process, you're going to end up just wanting to sketch whatever it is anyway. So it ends up being like a mountain or whatever. The odds are in stage 3, I'm just going to be kind of compelled to draw that. Whatever I, objectified. So I guess again, going back to first getting familiar with the process, you're just so worried about being right. I mean,
Yeah.
to where now you're so familiar, it's like you just touch it a little bit, and you're like, okay, I know what that is. That's
Yeah.
it's soft, it's land, it's a structure, whatever.
Yeah.
It just Go ahead.
What helps me really really good is that I retrace the ideogram. It's same like I'm going
Mm-hmm.
again on the same trace. If I'm in the A component, and I'm going the same tracing, I trace it again, and then it's like to jump on the train again and again and again. And for the feeling component, I probing the ideogram. I take the tip of the pen into the page and waiting and trying to feeling the consistency of the target. How is it? Sometimes I take my hand also, put my pen away, and I'm trying to touch it, to touch the consistency, trying to feel it, is it hard, is it soft, is it semi-soft? These are all things what helps to work clean with the stage 1. The historical side is interesting as well. I mean, not a long time ago, I came across about a good friend of mine, when they came the first time to ESP, extrasensoric perception, and how they expel that and how they express that. And we found interesting data in the book by Edmond Ducatel. The name of the book is The View from a Distance on Space and Time from 1910, investigation of the case of psychometry. And they are writing there to analytical expression. The seer has synthetic intuition and tries to express it in a detail. Then he uses analytical expressions to extract detailed information from this general intuition. The first contact is a general one, same like with us, the Gestalt. Thus, the psychographer uses a symbolic language, a whole based on a synthetic impression, symbolic or ideographic language. So it was one of the first times that somebody talks about a kind of ideogram, express, signal, kind of a sketch. When we are looking further in the development, and the isolation of the ideogram was in 1979 from Ingo Swan, and you can find here all these documents in the West Georgia University in the online program and online section. He played around with the task number at this time with the coordinates and was waiting for response what comes up here. He's starting to make this as an example. You see like a mountain, the Gestalt. It's really like really high sketchy here. Or you can see that here again. This is really interesting. You see the coordinates, and then you're seeing I want to say a classical ideogram, but what lays behind is that he jumped here directly, we would say today, directly into sketching.
Agree.
And this is what lays all behind. But to control all this progress and hold the analytical overlays from our left brain so small as possible, we are trying to open the aperture on a controlled way. So we're starting only with our ideogram, what contains for sure everything what comes up here later. The best case for us as viewer in stage 3, stage 4, or later in stage 6 in the part of sketches. So I found this really interesting.
Yeah, I had done something similar where I was playing around with this where I would, jump from ideograms straight into sketching, and it would quite often render um, a good, a decent image of whatever the object is. So it did seem to work. It's interesting that it works, but um, I think the reason, well, part of the reason too is obviously we're trying to get information. I mean, we want more than just knowing what the target is. We want information out of it, rather than, I mean, just the graphical information. So maybe that's probably part of the reason why stage two's in there. Plus, it's probably the gradual progression of how things open up as the
Yeah.
target unfolds. But yeah, I have found that too. Like, I mean, it's just interesting that Ingo, along his journey and playing with this, he was already doing that, where he'd go basically sketching before he went through the stage two process. But yeah, that's interesting. It's just like he kept pinging the target and then sketching. It's like he's always getting a little bit more of the graphic representation every time he hit the coordinates.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So let's see what we can say more to the stage one. We want to go into the detail of what motion, how is motion is
Yeah,
feeling for you. That's maybe an interesting
yeah. I
question
mean,
for
you
you.
could tell. I mean, this is something that's talked about in training, is the 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 direction change. Like I had the multiple in the first run at my ideogram, right off the bat. I mean, it's almost like an indicator. There's more. You got more there than just one thing. Um, so, like, to me, I mean, this particular target. I mean, there was a lot. It was a big target. There was land, structure. There was people, life forms, and what I'll do with something like that is I'll break out, kind of the bigger things. And for some people, what might break out all that, or they'll get land. But this one, I just didn't get land with it. But the land part comes anyway down the line. It doesn't seem to really um, matter. It's almost like opening. You're just opening up like one of those cans of snakes. The peanut brittle. You open it up and they all fly out of the thing. So like as soon as you
Yes,
just crack it open, the stage two to me is like all those other snakes are already barreling down the pipe.
uh,
You know, and I'm just trying to keep up with the impressions, writing them
so
down.
if we have a complex gestalt like an event or especially a person in stage three, in my case, it is like in stage three, I'm starting to sketching. I don't know what I really sketch there. I have got no visual in my brain, and I've got and I don't see something and sketch it. Then for me, the process is really like I'm starting and something is coming out of it. And if it's a complex gestalt like a person, it pops up directly in the beginning of the stage three.
And
An morphing
advancing your,
process.
yeah. And I think it's important to note too that I think that this is just my opinion. The ideogram process kind of evolves in the sense of you get some more advanced type of ideograms. You may get an event, you may get energy, you may get you get an ideogram of that type. Life, you may get life. Once in a while, I'll get an ideogram that feels like an event. Not often. Usually, it'll just come out like a structure, a person. Then I'll kind of just figure out it's some kind of event. But I remember my instructor, the first one of the second, I think it was the second demo that he did. He just started drawing like a circle, like a spiral. I go, what's that? It's like it's energy. So there are, this is your individual. I don't want to say it's. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't want to say like necessarily language, but you look at that. You look down at that ideogram, and that's your ideogram. You feel that sensation. Just by, and it's not even necessarily a looking thing, but it's just a feeling, or a combination of both. You just kind of do it, and you just know. And as time goes by, because you don't have those hangups of being right or wrong, or you just want to keep going, just getting through the thing.
Ouais.
it just fades into dust. All those like things that were hanging you up prior, to the training disappears.